Hello, you over 3,000 glorious people and the 83% who have yet to subscribe yet. Well, to another video, we're going to be looking at the Khorne, the Blades of Khorne. They've got their faction pack, so let's have a little look at it and see if they are going to be one of the big hitters in 4th edition. Yeah, Blades of Khorne have got their faction pack and they are looking to be pretty spicy. So they, as we've seen in the faction focus, they have the blood tithe abilities. This is the way the army runs. It's their core mechanic for their army. Basically, when stuff dies, you get to do stuff because Khorne likes stuff dying. So they have a passive ability, obviously, which is the Blood Tithe. So you start the battle with 0 Blood Tithe points, and you earn 1 Blood Tithe point each time a unit, friendly or enemy, is destroyed, which is cool, because you're kind of rewarded for just throwing things away. So, reaction. Your opponent declares a spell ability. You can spend a Blood Tithe point, or 2 Blood Tithe points, to basically say no. You're not casting that spell, it's unbind. You don't roll a dice, you don't do nothing, you just spend 2 Blood Tithe points and you go, nana, not doing it. Which is really strong. And obviously there's going to be ways, hopefully, how to generate Blood Tithe rather than just killing. So we'll maybe see how that plays out as we go through the War Scrolls. So in your movement phase, you can obviously do Blood Tithe as well. And it's Slaughter through Triumph, so you can only use this ability if you have not used the Blood Tithe ability this turn. You spend 8 Blood Tithe points. Can be done. It's going to be interesting. So you pick one of the following effects. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Blades of Khorne units for the rest of the battle. You are going to want to get this as quickly as possible because +1 attack is really good. Or, and this is just the funny part, you pick a friendly, non-unique Bloodthirster unit, so you're not doing Scarbrand, that has been destroyed, and you can set up an identical replacement on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So that big, scary Bloodthirster, and they are scary. Once they finally get killed, you can spend 8 Blood Tithe points and bring it back. Love it. Right. Also in the movement phase, you can obviously spend 1 Blood Tithe point and pick a friendly Blades of Khorne unit that is not in combat, and that target can move 3 inches, and it can move into combat. So what this basically means is it's not a move ability, okay? So, you know, before people get excited, it is a move. It's just a 3-inch move, and it basically means that you can move into the combat ranges and not have to worry about rolling a charge. So this will also massively affect units that, so likes of Lumineth Realm Lord Wardens have abilities that when they're charged they get buffs. This negates that because you're not charging, you're just moving in for 1 Blood Tithe point into combat. You don't need to charge, do nothing, you're then going to absolutely wreck them. So this is a good way of getting around units like that, okay? Then the Brass Skull Meteor, so you spend 4 Blood Tithe points. You pick an enemy unit that is visible to a friendly Blades of Khorne hero to be the target. Roll 8 dice, and for each 3+, inflict 1 mortal damage on that target. It's quite a nice way of sort of picking out heroes and basically putting damage onto them. You know, those pesky little things like the Sloppity Bile Piper that kind of hangs around the back and really annoys you, or that little wizard that's really going to just piss you off. This is how to get rid of it. So any combat phase, heads must roll. So you spend 6 Blood Tithe points for this one. And you, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the rend characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Blades of Khorne units. Now, obviously, you can only use 1 Blood Tithe ability per phase, basically. All right. So, but it's really quite handy. Oh, well, per turn. So Blood Tithe is looking solid. I really quite like it. It's not the Yahtzee that the World Eaters have in 40k. And we're going to see as we progress through the faction pack of how we get more Blood Tithe outside of killing other units. Next up we have our battle formations, and these are the ultra important rules, because this will dictate how you build your army. You know, so if you want to go for more mortals, there'll be a battle formation that will sort of buff that. If you're going more demons, there'll be one for that. And if you can go for a mixture, there'll be one for either. So the first up, we got the Khornate Legion. So once per turn, army reaction, you declare a fight ability for a friendly Blades of Khorne demon unit. Butchers of Nations. So use this ability. The unit using that has a fight ability, and then the effect, you pick a friendly Bloodbound unit. Bloodbound units, if I believe, are the human element, the mortal element. So you have, this is like if you want a mixture of humans and demons in your army. So you pick a friendly Bloodbound unit that has not used the fight ability this turn and is within 12 inches of the unit using this ability. The target can pick to use a fight ability immediately. After the fight ability is used, this unit can be resolved. So basically, you fight with the demons and you can immediately fight with a human unit, which is not bad. Murder Host is your next one, and it's a passive ability which is effective throughout the entire game. I really like these type of battle formations. So if a friendly non-monster Blades of Khorne demon unit, right, that's not the Bloodthirsters, uses a fight ability, it has a 5-up ward for the rest of the turn. Now, most of them are going to have a 6-up ward base. They get to fight, they end up pushing up to a 5-up ward. That's not bad. So if you're going to go for a lot of Bloodlayers, Fleshhounds, things like that, you're going to be able to get that 5-up ward on them. Okay, Brass Stampede. This one interests me a lot because I really love Skull Crushers. So if the unmodified charge rule for a friendly Blades of Khorne cavalry unit is an 8+, it gets strike first. So thematic, so cool. And it's passive, so it's completely all the way through the game. And then last we have the Bloodbound Warhorde, which is another passive ability. You add 1 to the hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Blades of Khorne units that target an enemy unit that is contesting an objective you do not control. This is solid. This is really good as well. This will affect all your mortal units, which is really, really good. Out of the three, because the Khornate Legion I'm not a big fan of, because I would really rather take, you know, things that are passive and affect every single phase of the game rather than just be stipulated as like once per turn. If you're going full demons, the Murder Host is quite nice. Brass Stampede is so cool if you want a cavalry army, because Skull Crushers are just so great. But if you don't want to really go for that and you want a mixture of humans and on foot and cavalry, then the Warhorde is definitely for you. But yeah, some pretty good choices there. Next up, we have our hero traits and our artifacts of power. This is obviously you get one enhancement of one of a type. There may be ways of being able to get extra, but we'll need the General's Handbook to have a look at that. So the Commanders of the Blood Legion, hero only. So passive, Firebrand. If this unit is not a priest, it has Priest 1. Yeah, it's pretty standard. Khorne doesn't use wizards because, you know, they don't like magic, but so they have a lot of priests. So to make a hero into a priest when he's not already one is kind of handy. If this unit is already a priest, add 1 to the banishment rolls for it instead. +1 banishment is really good. Those manifestations, you can get rid of them straight away. Nice. Next is another passive ability, Relentless Hunter. So effect, if this unit is picked to be the target of a murder lust ability, it can move 6 inches instead of 3. That is just so good. I really like that. For basically like 1-2 blood tithe points, you basically just move 6 inches. Yeah, brilliant. Passive, Favored of Khorne. So you begin the battle with 1 blood tithe point. So as we can see, we're already starting to see blood tithe points being generated outside of killing units. So artifacts of power. This is kind of the thing that you give non-unique heroes, and it kind of gives a little bit of a buff. So you've got the King of Blades, which is pick an enemy hero in combat with this unit to be the target. Ward rolls cannot be made for the target for the rest of the turn. That is super powerful. Super powerful. Being able to just turn off ward saves is really good. Now bear in mind, it's a hero, so yes, you can run up to Archeon and run up to Nagash, those 800, 900 point models, and just go, lol, you don't have a ward save anymore, we're going to wreck your face. And it turns it off for the entire turn. That's just Just so good. Passive, Collar of Contempt. This unit has an unbind ability as if it was a Wizard 1. Each time this unit unbinds a spell, inflict D3 mortal damage on the caster. That's really quite a good one if you're going to be coming up against, say, like a Lumineth or a Seraphon army with a lot of magic in it. But for me, I'm really loving the ward save one so far. And then passive, Halo of Blood. Ignore negative modifiers for this unit's control score and hit rolls and wound rolls for this unit's attacks. Yeah, it's okay, but it's the King of Blades all the way. Any unique hero I'm going to be putting that one on, because the ability just to get into combat with a hero and just turn off the ward save, that is just so clutch, and you're going to be able to use that a lot of the times. Next we have our prayer law. So we don't have spells in Khorne, we just have prayers. So we've got 3 to pick from. We've got, in your hero phase, Unholy Flame. Pick a friendly Blades of Khorne priest to chant this prayer. Chant is on a 5. Pick a visible friendly Blades of Khorne unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a chanting roll and roll d6. Add 1 to the range characteristics of the target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. In addition, if the chanting roll is a 10 or plus, add 1 to the rune rolls for the attacks targeting attacks for the rest of the turn as well. So +1 rend, +1 to wound. That's quite nice. And it's unlimited, so you're able to do this with multiple priests to multiple units. So that's quite nice. Pretty good. Next, you've got Witchbane Curse. So pick a friendly Blades of Khorne priest to chant, and then pick an enemy wizard within 18 inches to be the target, and then do a chanting roll. You only need a 4. Subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0. So those wizard 1s, you just turn them off. Like, they're no longer a wizard for the turn. That's really good. Now, bear in mind, you can do stuff in your... well, actually, no, you can't. This is your hero phase, sadly. That would be really funny if you could actually do it in your opponent's hero phase. I mean, that's just next level troll. So, until the end of the turn, in addition, if the chanting roll was an 8+, because Khorne's favourite number is 8, inflict 3 mortal damage on the target. So not only are you going to turn his magic off, you're also going to smack him in the face, which is really quite fun. So, the last one, we have Blood Boil. So you pick a friendly Blades of Khorne priest to chant, and you pick a visible enemy unit within 8 inches, and do a chanting roll on a 4. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the target unit. For each 5+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. And in addition, if the chanting roll was 8+, subtract 1 from wound rolls for the target until the start of your next turn. So they're going to take damage, and they're going to become -1 to hit. Some pretty good ones there. I'm really loving the magic one. That's kind of funny. That would be hilarious. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through the demons. We're going to go through the big demons, the bloodthirsters. And what better way to start is with Skarbrand. Probably my favourite demon character in the entire Warhammer universe. One of the ones I like to use in Total War 3 all the time, because he's just a bloodthirster that thought he could become a god, which is kind of cool, and then got slapped. So he has a 5-up ward save. Obviously, he's a monster. He's a Uke. He's also a War Master. So if he is in your army, he has to be your general. He has a 4-up save. He has a move and 8, 16 health, and control of 5. Now, Skarbrand is always been seen as a glass cannon, so now that he has a 5-up ward base, it's quite nice. And he has 2 attack profiles. He basically carries 2 big axes. One's called Slaughter, one's called Carnage. Slaughter has 4 attacks. He hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 4 damage. That's just nuts. Carnage hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, wounds on 2s, rend 2, 8 damage. Also, if those 2 hits turn into 6s, that does critical damage. That'll be 8 mortal damage per hit. That's just nuts. Potential 16 mortal damage you can pump out here. So passive, Skarbrand's Rage. So while this unit has 10 or more damage points, or if it did not use a fight ability this last turn, or if it is the first battle round, the attack characteristics of Slaughter is 6. Basically, if he ain't fighting and killing, it gets pissed off and he gets like angrier. And if he isn't, if you hurt him, you just make him better. So he has a once per turn ability in any combat phase. Road to total rage. Pick an enemy unit in the combat with this unit to be the target. Roll 3 dice or a number of dice equal to the number of damage points this unit has. For each 4+, inflict a mortal damage on the target. So, again, you know, he either is going to roll 3 dice on you, or if you've done a lot of damage to him, he's just going to pump that back out into you. Because it's Scarbrand. He's just an angry guy. Passive. Inescapable Wrath. Add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls for this unit to a maximum of 3. He has a 3d6 charge. That's just crazy. Yeah. Scarbrand is going to wreck things, and yeah, I think he's about 500 points, which is pretty cool. We'll just check now. I think he is about 500 points, to be fair. So, Blades of Khorne, Scarbrand, he is 510 points. Totally worth it. 100% will be bringing him as many times as I can. Okay, the first of our Bloodthirsters, the Bloodthirster, the Wrath of Khorne. All right, so this has a 5-up ward save, and he comes in at a, which one's this one? 420 points. So 4-up save, moves 12, health of 16, 5 control. He has a ranged ability, which is Hellfire Breath, which is a range of 8, 2d6 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage, shoots in combat. Then he has a melee weapon, the Mighty Axe of Khorne, which does 6 attacks but drops down to 4 if he has 10 or more damage. Hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 4 damage, ouch, and anti-hero +1. Then he has a couple of abilities. So he has once per turn army, any combat phase, Commander of Tyrants, so pick 3 other visible, friendly, non-unique Bloodthirster units to be the target. It really just wants you to bring a regiment of 3 Bloodthirsters. Add 1 to the attack characteristics for each target melee weapon for the rest of the turn. There is no range on this. There's just no range. This Bloodthirster just needs to draw a line of sight to the others, and it can instantly give them +1 attack. That's just so cool. So, once per turn, army, any combat phase. Vengeance of Khorne, pick an enemy hero in combat with this unit. Roll 8 dice, and for every 4+, inflict a mortal damage. Yeah, this is a scary Bloodthirster. He's going to do a lot of damage, and he's going to buff the other Bloodthirsters. Now, obviously, he doesn't buff Scarbrand, which is a shame, but still, Bloodthirsters are scary this edition. Our next Bloodthirster is the Bloodthirster of Incessant Rage. We kind of seen this one in the faction focus. It's the one with the massive 2-handed great axe. Again, has a 5-up ward. Basically the same stat line as the others. And he has the great axe, which does deteriorate if you put damage onto him from 5 attacks to 3. But this one has hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 5 damage per hit. That's mental. And ability is anti-infantry +1. So you throw this into a unit of infantry, it's going to be -3 rend, doing 5 damage per hit. It's pretty much going to lift a unit. Like, Chaos Warriors are going to be on a 6-up save, which is crazy. Unless they've got in most cases, the Mark of Nurgle may knock you down to 3-up to wound, but it's 5 damage per unit. Like, you're going to basically kill at least half of them. At least. So he has passive Outrageous Carnage. So each time an attack is made by this unit scores a critical hit. So roll a 6 to hit. Inflict D3 mortal damage on each enemy unit within 8 inches of it after the fight ability has been resolved. So he does splash damage of D3 damage after if you roll 6s, which is pretty cool. And then he has once per turn army, any charge phase. If this unit charges this turn, pick an enemy unit with 1 inch of it to be the target, and then roll a d3. On a 2+, inflict that amount of mortal damage onto the target. If the target is infantry, inflict an additional D3 damage to it. So good. So yeah, he is going to come in at the Incessant Rage. He's 470 points, okay? He's the most expensive of the 3 Bloodthirsters outside of Scarbrand. Okay, so then we'll get on to the last one. Finally, we have the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury, which he comes in at 440 points. Again, same stat line as the others, and he has a ward save of 5. He has the Lash of Khorne, which is 8-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage, and can shoot in combat. And then he has the Mighty Axe of Khorne, which does degrade from 6 attacks to 4 attacks if he has 10 or more damage. This thing hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, 2 rend, 4 damage, and is an anti-monster plus 1 rend. So he has Beckoned the Hunt, so pick a friendly non-unique Blades of Khorne demon unit to be the target. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls for the target to a maximum of 3, so you can buff other demon units when they come to charging. Ensnaring Lash, pick an enemy monster in combat with this unit. If the target is in combat with this unit, then that target is picked to use a fight ability. It must pick this unit to be the target of the pile-in, core rules, and then subtract 1 from hit rolls and wound rolls for the attacks made as part of that fight ability for this unit. It's okay. To be fair, the other 2 are far better. I would definitely take the big Great Axe, the more expensive one, and then at least 2 of the others if you're going to run 3. Or at least one of each of the other 2, and then Scarbrand. Next up, we have Knak, the 3-headed doggy. He has a 6-up ward save, he has a 5-up save, and moving 8, health of 7, and control of 2. And he has his claws and his mouths. He's got 3 of. So he has 6 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, and -1 rend, 2 damage. And he is an anti-hero plus 1 rend. This thing is pretty much an anti-hero unit. So in the deployment phase, you pick an enemy hero to be the unit's quarry. You can pick a hero in reserve. Haha. You can even target the Celestial Prime. Passive, first of the pack. So while this unit is wholly within 12 inches of friendly Fleshhound's unit, add 2 to the charge rolls for this unit. And in addition, while any friendly Fleshhound units are wholly within 12 inches of this unit, they can ignore the effects of the beast ability. So the beast ability basically means that you can never get a better control score than 1, so beasts can't really take objectives. But Knak will allow your Fleshhounds to basically do that. So Fleshhounds are pretty decent at being flanking units down the sides of the board. And Knak comes in at a nice 140 points, so he's relatively cheap. And you can get a lot of cheap doggies, which are also very cheap. So Fleshhounds are like 110 points for 5. So not too bad. So in the enemy movement phase, if this unit's quarry moved this phase, then this unit can move up to 8 inches. It cannot move into combat and any part of the map move, and must end that move closest to its quarry. So basically, if the target hero moves, Knak moves, and you can move closer to it. So that's kind of cool. Next up, we have the Skulltaker. Beautiful plastic kit now. It used to be a horrible metal one. And the Skulltaker comes in at 160 points. He has a 5-up ward, a 4-up save, movement 5, health of 7, control of 2, and he has the Slayer Sword, not to be confused with the Sword of Kings that Archeon carries. So it's 6 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage, anti-hero plus 1, and also has crits on mortals. So he's kind of like a really beefed up hero herald for the Bloodlayers. And it is really a cool model. So any combat phase, Hero's Bane, pick an enemy hero in combat with this unit to be the target, and then effect for the rest of the turn while that target is in combat with this unit has the strikes first, but all combat attacks it makes must target that hero. So you're probably only going to really get to do that 1 turn, because you should seriously kill that hero in combat. 6 attacks with +1 with rend 3, yeah. Then you have a passive ability, so each time an enemy hero is slain by this unit, you receive an additional blood type point. So there we go. We're already getting more blood type points for killing additional things. So yeah, he's pretty good. Beautiful model. Very nice to sort of see like more sort of cool demon-y looking guys. So yeah, definitely worth taking the Skulltaker. So if you're going to run Knak, you're probably going to want a couple of units of Fleshhounds. 110 points for 5. Nice plastic kit. They have a ward of 6, a save of 5. They move 8. They have 2 health, and they got a control of 1. So they got Dark Blood Claws. They've got 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend 1 damage, and they're anti-wizards plus 1 rend and companion attacks, which is pretty good. So they got Unflagging Hunters, so add 2 to the charge rules for this unit. Now, bearing in mind, you can already get additional stuff with Knak, and now you get +2 to the charge rules for this unit, which is quite nice. It is a beast, so you can, you're only ever going to score 1 for control. With Knak and these is really quite nice, definitely for sort of like taking flanking objectives. They're relatively cheap as well, so that's kind of good. So they're not a bad blood tithe point, at least. Get them onto objectives, score some points early, and then just throw them into the enemy to die, because who cares? And get that bloodthirster point, because that's where you're going to get your buffs. Next, we have another Bloodletter hero, and that's the Bloodmaster Herald of Khorne. Has a 6-up ward, 4-up save, moves 5, health of 6, control of 2, Blade of Blood, so 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-hero +1, and crits. You'll probably see that trend a lot on the Bloodletters, that they have crit mortals. So he has a reaction. You declare a fight ability for this unit. The blood must flow, so you pick a friendly Bloodletters unit that has not used the fight ability this turn and is within the combat range of this target. So basically, keep this guy within 3 inches of a big unit of Bloodletters. That target can be picked to use a fight ability immediately after the fight ability used by this unit has been resolved. If it is picked to do so, subtract 1 from the ward rolls for damage points inflicted by each of those fight abilities. So -1 ward is kind of nice, and immediately fight straight after him is kind of cool, and he's hopefully nice and cheap. So as a Herald, yeah, he's not too bad. 150 points. It's okay. Yeah, he's not too bad. Next up for the demon heroes, we have the Skullmaster Herald of Khorne. So this is the mounted Herald, and he comes in at 190 points. So again, he has a 6-up ward. He has pretty much the same stat line as the others. 4-up save, move 8, health 7, 2 control. He has the Blade of Blood, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, anti-hero +1 rend, crit mortal. And then he has a Juggernaut's Brazens, so 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, d3 damage. And he has a couple of abilities. So any charge phase, Slaughterous Charge. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Make a Crushing Charge roll of d3. On a 2+, inflict that amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Then he has once per battle, army, any charge phase. Pick a friendly Blood Crushers, so that's the mounted Bloodletters, unit within this unit's combat range to be the target. For the rest of the turn, weapons used by this unit and the target have a +1 charge +1 damage. That's really good, considering that the other buffs that he has, like the anti-infantry +1 rend, the crit doing mortal damage on 6s, to basically get that to increase it up to 3 damage a hit, and then whatever the Blood Crushers have, is pretty nice. So yeah, if you're going to be doing a lot of mounted demons with some Bloodthirsters, because you're going to take Bloodthirsters, this is definitely worth it. Okay, so for our line unit, our basic unit for the demon side is the Bloodletters. They have a 6-up ward save, they have 5 a save, they move 5, they have a health of 2 and they control of 1. They have Hellblades, so 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, and they do crit mortals on 6s to hit. And then at the end of the turn, the Thinning of the Veil. If this unit is in combat, you can return D3 slain models to this unit. Pretty damn cool. And they will come in at a lovely 200 points for 10. All right. Pretty expensive. 200 points for 10. But you are able to bring models back at the end of the turn as well, which is cool. So, yeah, not bad. So for the mounted variant of the Bloodletter, we have the Blood Crushers. And bear in mind that we've already seen that we can get this unit to get +1 damage on the charge. So it has a ward of 6+, it has a 4-up save, it has a movement of 8, health of 5, a control of 2. So it has the Blood Crusher Hellblades, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, anti-infantry +1, and crit mortals as well. And then the Juggernaut is the same. So it has any charge phase, Slaughterous Charge, and it's the exact same rules that the Herald, the Mounted Herald, has. But the Mounted Herald is able to give these guys +1 damage on the charge, which is pretty good. Now, these Blood Crushers come in at 200 points for 3. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. So, you know, there's a potential there for some nice demons side of the army. And next we have the Skull Cannon. Yeah, a skull. So Khorne does have guns, okay? So we do have some guns. We have Skull Cannons, which are coming in at 180 points for 1. They are basically Bloodlayers riding around on a weird little bike thing with a gun on it. Has a 6-up ward, 4-up save, moves 8, hate, health, 2 control. Has the Burning Skull Cannon, which is basically a range of 15 inches, 4 attacks, 4s followed by 3s, -1 rend, d3 damage. It can also shoot in combat. Then we have the crew, which is basically some Bloodlayers. So you've got a couple of those guys, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, the exact same as a Bloodlayer. And then the Maw. So it has 1 attack, so this thing does have a mouth and it does try to eat people. So it has 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, d3 damage, companion attack. Then it has a passive ability. So grind their bones and seize their skulls. So if any enemy models are slain by fight ability used by this unit, after that fight ability has been resolved, this unit can immediately use a shoot ability as if it were you're shooting for his. So good. So basically, you have a fight, you charge in, you fight, okay? You do a fight ability, you kill a model, you instantly lock and load the gun and fire 4 shots, hitting on 4s, wound on 3s, -1 rend, doing d3 damage, straight into them. Quality. Now, it's a passive ability. So, Gruesome Bombardment. If any enemy models are allocated, so any damage points are allocated to an enemy model enemy unit by a shoot ability used by this unit, subtract 3 from that enemy unit's control score for the rest of the turn. Cool. So again, you can roll in, fight, shoot in the shooting phase, do some damage, and then knock their control score down by 3. Not too bad, not too shabby. So next up we had the Blood Throne. This is a Herald on a Blood Throne. So this is a 6-up ward. This is the Herald on the Blood Throne is 210 points. So again, he has move 8, health of 10, control of 2, Blade of the Blood and Health Blades, 7 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-infantry and crit. And then once per turn, army, your movement phase, Call of Blood. Pick a friendly Blades of Khorne demon unit that started the battle with 3 or more models that has been destroyed. Then on a 4+, you can bring that unit back, rounding up wholly within 12 inches of this unit and 9 inches from an enemy unit. So you can kind of throw a unit of Bloodlayers into the enemy, get them killed, get some blood type points, and then on a 4+, bring them back. So once per turn in your movement phase. Not too bad. He's also a Priest 1 as well, so he's going to be doing a bit of chanting. Next up, we have the Claws of Knak, which is a unit of 8 models for 120 points. They have infantry and a champion. I believe these were a Warcry warband. That is kind of, or the Underworlds. They're one of the warbands. They kind of think they're Fleshhounds, basically. They got a 5-up save. They got a movement of 6. They got a health of 1 and control of 1. Weapons of the hunt, 3 attacks each. 4s followed by 3s, no rend, 1 damage. Crits do 2 hits. Interesting. So deployment phase is the Scent of Blood. This unit can use a normal move ability as if it were your movement phase. So they're going to basically get a 6-up move in the deployment zone, in the deployment phase. Then they have a passive ability, which is Pack Hunters. While this unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Fleshhound's unit, this unit's combat attack scores critical hits on unmodified hit rolls of 5. Okay, that's pretty cool, but you're going to have to take Fleshhounds, and Fleshhounds aren't amazing. And these guys are 120 points, so they are dirt cheap. Now, would you bring these to basically just throw at people to get blood baptized points? Looking at the points, they are one of the cheaper units that we have in the army, so potentially a cheap chaff unit to throw out and get some blood type points early, and maybe do some damage that they'll be able to take down a unit as well. Potential. So we're now moving into our mortal element, our mortal heroes and stuff, and we have the Realm Gore Ritualist. She is the newest of the heroes, and she has a 5-up save. She is a priest of 1, a movement of 5, a health of 5, and a control of 2, and she has a ritual dagger. So she has a tactical rock / plinth / sacrificial stone, whatever you want to call it, on the base, which is kind of cool. And she has a big stick. So she has 1 attack, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, d6 damage. Now, you're not really going to get this girl into combat. That's probably not what you're going to do with her. So she's probably going to hang around your altar. So you have once per battle army your movement phase, desecrating the blood runs. So pick an objective or a terrain feature within this unit's combat range to be the target. For the rest of the battle, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly bloodbound units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this target. So basically, once per battle, you kind of move her onto an objective, pick an objective or a terrain feature within this unit's combat range to be the target, and you basically desecrate it. And then you basically get +1 to hit for all bloodbound units that are wholly within 12 inches of this target. So you kind of want to pick an objective or a terrain feature in the middle of the board, and you run her onto it and you desecrate it. All right, and then you're going to get that buff. Okay, but yeah, is she worth it? Is she worth it? How many points is she? She is going to come in at 120 points. So she's relatively cheap, but yeah. Okay, next up we have the Mighty Lord of Khorne, not to be confused with Azavar Kull, because he is no longer in the army, because he is ascended. Probably going to be a demon prince. Hopefully we get a really kick-ass model for him when the battle tome comes. That would be really nice. But this guy, still a nice model, and he's a classic. He's been here from day 1. So the Mighty Lord of Khorne is 160 points. He's a lord, he's infantry, he has a 3-up save, which is really nice, 5 move, health 7, control of 2. He has an Axe of Khorne, so 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, 2 damage, really good. And then he has his doggy, which is 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage, anti-wizards. He's basically a Fleshhound. So he has two abilities. So passive, Lord of the Bloodbound, so add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Bloodbound infantry units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That's perfectly doable. And +1 charge is really nice as well. And then he has once per turn army, your combat, bring me their skulls. Pick a friendly, Gore-chosen unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. That target has the strike first for the rest of the turn. We'll have a little look in to see what the Gore-chosen are as we go through the War Scrolls. But yeah, all in all, pretty like him. It's a shame it's not Azavar Kull, and this is the model. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get a new Mighty Lords of Khorne model that isn't a character model that is no longer named, and then we get Azavar Kull back with a really kick-ass demon model, because he has been ascended. Next, we have a Lord on a Juggernaut. I believe this is a metal / resin miniature. It's very old. I'm pretty much sure that this come back from the old Warhammer Fantasy days. Pretty cool looking miniature either way. So he comes in as a lovely Lord on a Juggernaut, 220 points. He has a 2-up save, moves 8, health 8, control of 2. He has a War Forged Axe, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, and then obviously the Brass Juggernaut, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage companion. And then he has some abilities. So in your charge phase, Slaughterous Carnage. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Make a crushing charge roll of D3. So it kind of has the standard Juggernaut rule there. Then he also has the Lord of the Brass Stampede. So if this unit charged this turn, for the rest of the turn, the following effects apply to friendly Blades of Khorne cavalry units that are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. Add 1 to the charge roll for those units. You can re-roll crushing charge rolls for those units. So basically, you kind of see a trend here. We've got a mounted unit, cavalry unit. We have a battle formation, and we now have a Lord that kind of builds into that. And basically, you can build yourself an entire Khorne cavalry army of crazy Khorne warriors on Juggernauts. It sounds really cool. The only problem I have with the army idea is that this model is not plastic. I'm pretty sure that this is metal or fine cast. And it would be kind of nice if this guy gets updated to a newer updated one. Now, you probably could get the 40k Lord Invocatus / World Eater on a Juggernaut and then convert him into being a Chaos Warrior, maybe. That kind of could work. But yeah, all in all, not bad. Probably one of the most taken models in all of the Khorne armies is the Blood Curator, and he comes in at 160 points. So he has a 3-up save, nice, 5 move, 6 health, 5 control, and he has Ensorced Axe, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. Then he has a couple of abilities. So once per battle, army, any combat phase, Rage of Khorne, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly bloodbound units for the rest of the turn. This model is also Gore chosen, so the Khorne, the mighty Khorne unit will affect this guy. So he has the Icon of Blood. If a friendly bloodbound unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit takes or makes a rally command, you can make 3 additional rally rolls on of D6. That's really cool. More rally is nice, more models coming back. Yeah, definitely worth it, and probably for its points as well. For 160 points, you're probably going to have one of these in your army. Next up, we have Scar the Bloodwrath. And Scar the Bloodwrath is 170 points. He's unique, he's a hero, he's infantry, and he's bloodbound. He has a 4-up save, movement 5, 7 health, 2 control, and he has the Bloodstone Blades, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, crit, 2 wounds, passive Murderous Paragon. So if this unit is in combat, add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons by friendly Wrathmongers units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. In any movement phase of the Slaughterborn, this unit can use this ability if it has been destroyed. Roll 2d6, and on 80+, set up a replacement unit on the battlefield more than 9 inches from any enemy models. Really cool. So basically, if you kill him, he can come back on an 8+. That's kind of cool. He is kind of almost a demon. He's kind of like he's like kind of possessed. He's like a possessed Chaos Khorne warrior. Kind of cool. Next up, we have a Slaughter Priest, probably mainstay of your heroes, and Slaughter Priests come in at 160 points each. They are Gore chosen, so they're going to be buffed by the Chaos Lord. They have a 5-up save. They're Priest of 1. They move 5. They have a health of 6 and control of 2. And then Bloodbath weapons. So they've got 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. And then they've got a couple of abilities. So once per turn, your army, your hero phase, Blood Sacrifice. Pick a friendly unit within this unit's charge range to be the target. Roll a d3. On a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll, and then you gain +1 blood type point. This is how we're going to get blood type points outside of units. So you want a cheap unit that's pretty much cheap and quite big, maybe Reavers, and you want it to basically be within combat range of this unit, and then every hero phase, once per turn, you're going to be rolling d3 on a 2+. You're going to be getting a blood type point. So yeah, pretty cool. Passive. So this unit has the Unbind ability to as a Wizard 1, so he can kind of anti-magic as well, which is kind of nice. And yeah, you're gonna be taking these guys, I would probably say you're probably going to have at least 1 or 2. I would definitely have 1 and a big unit of Reavers, and the Reavers are like 100 points for 10. So you're probably going to want a cheap chaff unit, basically to get to siphon those blood type points off. Our next hero is the Skull Grinder. He is another Gore chosen, and the Skull Grinder is 150 points. Has a 3-up save, movement of 5, health of 6, control of 2, and he has the Brazen Anvil. So he has 4 attacks, 4s, followed by 3s, 1 rend, 3 damage, anti-monster plus 1 rend. So he has a passive ability, Bone Crushing Strike. So if this unit uses a fight ability roll of all attacks and target the same enemy monster, and any of the attacks score a critical hit, that monster has the strike last for the rest of the turn. Basically, it's relying on you rolling a 6 to hit when you target a monster. So he has once per battle army in the deployment phase, tempered by fury. So pick another friendly blood-bound hero within 8 inches of this unit to be the target. Pick one of the target's melee weapons and add 1 to the rend characteristics of that weapon for the rest of the battle. Yeah, you can basically take your Khorne, your mighty Khorne of a mighty Lord of Khorne, and basically give it +1 rend. That's kind of nice, and then basically have him running around trying to kill monsters. Now, is he worth doing that for 150 points? Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, I would do that. One, especially if you're playing something that's going to have a lot of monsters, and I think you are. So maybe having 1 in just to target monsters to run around and scare them, but to give one of your characters that +1 rend is actually kind of cool. So the next up, we have another Gore chosen hero, which is the Aspiring Deathbringer, another cool looking model. So the Aspiring Deathbringer is 130 points, cheap. Has a 3-up save, movement of 5, 6 health, 2 control. Gore Axe and the Skull Hammer, 7 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. And then reaction, you declared a fight ability for this unit. Alright, so pick a friendly Blood Warriors unit that has not used the fight ability this turn and is within this unit's combat range to be the target. The target can be picked to use a fight immediately after the fight ability is resolved by this unit and has been resolved. If it is picked to do so, add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made by this unit and the target for the rest of the turn. So, yeah, basically, you kind of do the fight reaction ability, and you get to do this. That's kind of nice, and you get the kind of buff Blood Warriors as well. Blood Warriors aren't amazing, but we'll just bear that in mind. Next up, we have the Exiled Deathbringer, another one of the semi-mortal demon units that we have. And the Exiled Deathbringer comes in at 130 points, another relatively cheap hero. He has a 5-up ward, 5 save, 5 movement, health of 6, and a control of 2. And he has the Deathbringer weapons, stunning model. 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 3 damage. Pretty cool. And then at end of any turn, Fists of the Gore chosen. So if any damage points were allocated to an enemy unit by this unit's combat attacks this turn, and that enemy unit has been destroyed, you heal 5 this unit and give this unit a glorious Ascension token. Nice. So, what does that token do? Add 1 to the attack characteristic of this unit's Deathbringer weapon for each glorious token it has. That's kind of cool. So, you basically kill enemy units, and this thing starts getting more attacks. Nice. So cool. And he's pretty cheap as well. So, you know, throw him into chaff, and then just watch him mince. Okay, our army chaff unit, Blood Reavers. Been around since day 1, 100 points for 10. They have a 6-up save, cool. They move 5, they've got a health of 1, they control 1. We don't care because we want blood type points out of these. So, Blood Reavers and Axes, attack 2, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. And they have a passive ability, add 1 to the rend characteristic of this unit's melee weapons for the rest of the turn if it charged. Cool. You want them to charge because you want them in combat, because you want them to die, because this is how we get blood type points. These are 100 points for 10, So, you know, you can take quite a few of these in your army and don't really worry too much because they are literally blood tithe points. That's all they're going to be for. Blood tithe points, holding objectives, and running in and dying. Next up, we have the Mighty Skull Crushers, a beautiful kit. And the Mighty Skull Crushers are 260 points for 3. Ooh, expensive. But they have a 2-up save. They move 8. They have a health 5 and a control of 2. And they're pretty nice. We already know that there's a battle formation that is built for these. The Lord will buff them as well. A lot of going on here to make these a lot better. So they have the axes or glaives, so there's no really... So how you model your models now doesn't make a difference. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 Ren 1 damage, and +1 damage on the charge. Finally, they actually do something in combat. Brilliant. And the Juggernauts have the standard Juggernaut profile. So any charge phase, the Slaughterous charge. So again, they have the Juggernaut charge. So if they make a crushing charge roll, they inflict mortal damage on a D3 on a 2+. Okay, not bad. I really like them. They're in the starter set currently. You get 3 of them in the starter set with some Blood Warriors and some Reavers and a Slaughter Priest. It's a really good way of actually starting Blades of Khorne. Pick up 2 of them and then you can start like bulking it out with other stuff. But ultimately you get these guys, which is really, really nice. Okay, now we're moving into more of our elite infantry, and these are the Skull Reapers. Seen a lot in 3rd edition. The Skull Reapers are 220 points for 5. They have a 4-up save. They move 5. They've got 3 health, and they've got control 1. And they've got demon forged weapons. 4 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. And they do crit mortal damage on 6s to hit. They have a passive ability, Trial of Skulls. So if this unit destroyed an enemy unit this turn, add 8 to this unit's control score. What? If this unit did not destroy an enemy unit this turn, it has a control score of 1 and cannot be modified. So basically, charge in on in a unit in combat or in on an objective, rinse that unit, and then instantly become 9 control. So that's pretty nice. Not bad, but next up we have the Wrathmongers. So the Wrathmongers are quite a popular. They're a pretty crazy unit. They're 150 points for 5, so a lot cheaper than Skulltakers, and by the looks of it, a little bit better. So they are 5-up save, 5 move, 3 health, 1 control. They've got the Frails, so 4 attacks, 4s followed by 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage, and crits do 2 hits. Not bad. Blood Fury. Each time an unmodified hit roll of a combat attack that targets this unit is a 1, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fight ability has been resolved. So they roll once the hit, they do mortal damage back to themselves. And then Crimson Haze. While this unit is in combat, add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly bloodbound units, excluding Wrathmonger units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Yeah, so +1 attack. Add 1 to the melee. So other friendly bloodbound units, so Skulltakers, Blood Reavers, Blood Warriors are going to get +1 attack while within 12 inches of these if these guys are in combat. So you maybe want 1 unit of these just to sort of buff your front line of your mortal stuff done. Then we have our Mighty Blood Warriors, a classic from the old days. Blood Warriors are 210 points for 10. They have a 3-up save, pretty good. I like that. 2 health, 5 move, 1 control. So the unit is armed with the following. They all have Gore axes, so you no longer have do you wield them? Do you take them with the little sort of fishy shields? They basically have Gore axes. And then 1 in 10 models has the big Gore glaive, which is the big 2-hander thing. So the Gore axes are 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, and Gore glaive is 4s and 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage. And then no respite. So each time a model in this unit is slain by a combat attack, and that model was in combat with the attacking unit, roll 2 dice. For each 5+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fight ability is resolved. So basically, you die, you've got a chance of doing mortal wounds back. Not bad. They're not Chaos Warriors, so, you know, a little bit expensive, 210 points. I would like to see these down to about 190, to be completely honest. But yeah, not too bad. Okay, another classic hero for the Blades, and there's another Gore chosen hero, which is the Stalker. This is a guy that runs around and whips people. He is 110 points, super cheap. So he has a 4-up save, he has a move of 5, health of 5, and a control of 2, and he has the Torture, Whips, and Blade. So it's 4 attacks, 3s followed by 4s, 1 rend, or 2 damage. So once per turn in your army, for army-wide, your movement phase, pick a friendly non-hero Bloodbound unit within this unit's combat range to be the target, and for the rest of the turn, the target can charge abilities even if it ran. So, see that you big blob of 20 Reavers? You whap them in the movement phase, they run, then they get to charge, then they get to kill things, and they get to die and give you blood tithe points. So, get your Reavers up the board faster. Next up is our Kargagrath. It's like a big scary monster thing. It came in the original starter set for Age of Sigmar back in the day. And it is 170 points for 1. It's a monster. It's a weird skull thing. So it has 5 attacks, 5 health, save, movement of 8, health of 8, control of 2. It has a ranged ability, which is the Tentacles, which is 6 attacks, range of 6, 3 attacks, 3s, followed by 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Can shoot in combat and is a companion attack. Then it has its Claws, which is 5 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage. It's a horrific predator, so pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3+, the target cannot use command abilities. That's pretty cool, but, like, is it 170 points cool? And then at the end of the turn, Taker of Heads. If this unit is in combat, it can heal D3. Yeah, it's not great. I would have always hoped that this was going to be a combat monster, but it's not. It's, like, really weird. It's kind of like a Khorne spawn. Think of it like that way. But yeah, it's not amazing. Okay, now we get to our manifestations. So Khorne does have its own set of manifestations. They're kind of like priesty manifestations. So this is the bleeding icon. So the first one is it has a 6-up ward, it has a 4-up save, it doesn't move, has a health of 8, and it has a banishment of 7. So reaction. Opponent declared a command for a unit within 8 inches of this manifestation. Signal of Doom. Roll 2d6, and on an 8+, that command has no effect. It still counts as being used, and the command point spent is lost. That's kind of cool. So you can kind of pray and chant this thing out, and basically throw it out into the front lines, and anything within 8 inches of that kind of has a hard time getting command points. So it's not too bad. So the next up is the Hex Gorge of Skulls. Oh, these things used to bust me when I had magic. They just drop these things down. It used to just annoy the hell out of you. They have a ward of 6. They have an armor save of 5. They have a movement of 8. It's kind of cool. And they've got a health of 6. And they've got a banishment of 7+. So they do attack. So they've got 2 attacks, 2s and 4s, no rend D3 damage. Interesting. So passive, multiple parts. So when a number of damage points equal to this manifestation's health characteristic are allocated to it, this manifestation is being destroyed and both its parts are removed from play. Each time this manifestation moves, both its parts must end within 8 inches of each other. So they kind of move around within 8 inches. Each part of this manifestation is armed with a stream of molten blood. So both of them have that attack profile, not just one of them. So you can kind of move them off. So think of it as a unit with an 8-inch coherency, basically. So it has a passive ability, Hex Gorge. So for each part of this manifestation that is within 8 inches of a wizard, subtract 1 from casting rolls. So you can kind of throw them out 8 inches away, and then you get an 8-inch bubble of anti-magic around them. Really kind of cool. And then last we have the Wrath Axe. So it's a 6-up ward, it's a 5-up save, it moves 8, health of 7 banishment. Wrath Axe has 3 attacks, 3s and 2s, -2 rend, D3 damage, and your movement phase. So you pick up to 3 enemy units that this manifestation passed across this turn to be the target. Roll a D3 for each target. On a 2+, inflict that amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. not bad. So you kind of throw that out into the enemy and it starts running around and basically attacking people and doing D3 mortal wounds. And it flies. Yeah, I could probably see this one being used. In fact, I can see all three of them being used, to be fair. They're pretty decent. And then finally, we have the Skulltaker. So this is our terrain feature. It's got 4 save, no movement, 10 health, no control. So the following universal rules apply to it. It has cover and impassable, okay? So it has a passive ability, Words of Hate. While this terrain feature has an invoker, so I assume that is going to be someone that you put onto it, a hero onto it. Add 1 to the chanting rules for the invoker. Cool. The invoker cannot use move abilities. Instead of measuring range or visibility to the invoker, measure to this terrain feature instead. All attacks that would target the invoker target the terrain feature instead. If this terrain feature is destroyed before removing it from the battlefield, inflict D3 mortal damage on the invoker. Then set up the invoker on the battlefield, wholly within 3 inches of this terrain feature and not in combat. That unit is no longer an invoker, and it is not possible to set up the invoker if it is slain. Alright, so in your hero phase, ascend the altar. So if this is a terrain feature, does not have an invoker, pick a friendly Blades of Khorne infantry priest within 3 inches of it to be the target. Place the target on the terrain feature. The target is now an invoker. See Words of Hate. So your movement phase, descend the altar. So if this terrain feature has an invoker, you can set up the invoker on the battlefield, wholly within 6 inches of the terrain feature and not in combat. This unit is no longer an invoker, so you can get on it, you can get off it. And then reaction. A friendly unit within 18 inches of this terrain feature was picked to be the target of an enemy spell. Roll a 5+. If the terrain feature has an invoker, gain a blood type point. Nice. Ignore the effect of the spell on that friendly unit. The terrain feature can be use this ability more than once per phase, but you can only roll once for each friendly unit per casting roll. So basically, if your army's getting bombarded with magic and they're within 18 inches of this thing and it has an invoker on it, you roll a dice, and for every 5+, you either stop the spell or you take a blood type point. It's kind of our alternative way of getting blood type points into the army. And that's it. So that's the Blades of Khorne. Not bad, to be fair. Bloodthirsters look really, really scary. Blood Tithe is going to be fun to get. You're going to need a lot of chaff to die. Blood Reavers, probably a couple of units of Blood Reavers to die. Maybe some Fleshhounds, stuff like that. But you're really going to rely on your Bloodthirsters to do some absolute pain. You can go for a full cavalry army, which is kind of nice. I like the fact that you can buff your heroes. Did I say how good Bloodthirsters were? So yeah, it's an interesting looking army. I'm going to enjoy looking into them a little bit more, and intrigued to see what they get in when they get their battle tome. You know, I would like to see an actual proper Mighty Lord of Khorne model rather than a former character, and I would like to see a new model for Azavar Kull in his ascended form, which would be really kind of nice to see. A little bit disappointed with Blood Warriors. I think they need to be a little bit better, but I don't think they're worth 210 points. But, you know, it is the start of the edition, so expect points to change in the next couple of months. 100% it's going to happen. But yeah, all in all, pretty impressed. Not a bad army. So if you like what I do, please like, subscribe, share, and all of that good stuff. And most importantly, subscribe. The channel is growing at an tremendous rate, and it's amazing to see. So thank you for all the support, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.